a live thing. What's up, YouTube? I was thinking we go live on YouTube. Does that mean all of YouTube is tuning in, or is it just select people?
I think all of YouTube.
Nice. Happy Friday, everybody. Unless you're in Asia, be happy Saturday. Right? Yeah. What's going on? Where should I sit here?
Sit at the piano.
Sit at the piano. Okay. So welcome to the Open Studio question and answer. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Peter Martin.
That's Adam Maness. Hey, how's it going?
That's Adam Maness.
I'm going to move over this way.
We are the brains and brawn behind the You'll Hear podcast, but we're also pianists and musicians, jazz musicians here. And we have had a number, I think our largest number of new members ever. Did you know that, Adam?
I did know that. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, and so we've been getting a lot of questions, and we've been answering furiously as many as we can, but we thought it would be fun to do a little demo, answer some questions. And this really, as always, can be about anything. We're going to get as many fit in as we can, but especially new members, or if you're thinking about jumping on a course, thinking about getting a gift, but you don't have to be a member, no problem. It's all good. That's why we're on a public situation here. But we hope everybody's doing well, no matter where you are in the world. And
can everybody hear okay?
Yeah, please let us know. Could you just go to the chat? I know some of you are a little shy. Don't be. It's free. Go to the chat and maybe just say, you know, like if the sound isn't good. Or you can say if it's good. But let us know if you can hear okay, because we got everything mic'd up. We went to great effort to get this to sound right. You should be able to hear it both.
Mr. Kobayashi says, Peter's audio is low. Andrew, get on it.
Come on, Andrew.
They're calling you out by name, Andrew.
Or Ryan. Or
I
Ryan,
know, it's Ryan.
Somebody.
It's not even Andrew. The volume seems a bit low.
What you know about bebop? Is that legal on Fridays?
All right, the audio is good now. I can hear all good.
Okay, cool.
We already have some, we got a lot of people. We have Neil Kilalia, who he comments on all of our...
Don't say their last name, man. You're exposing
I don't
them.
think it's a real in the last
Okay.
name. Correct me if I'm wrong, Neil. He's on YouTube right here.
Okay.
We got Jude. Big shout out to you both for the wonderful lessons. I just started the beginner course 2 days ago and look forward to learning a lot more. Much love and regards from Germany. What's up, Jude?
Okay.
We got Art. We got...
What's up, Art?
Ray Brown from Europe.
Ray Brown! That's like literally the coolest name ever.
The audio makers, hello from Spain. Ludo from France. What's up, Ludo?
What's up, France? Je m'appelle Pierre et Adam.
Ludo says, I first want to say that I had the privilege to see Peter performing with Diane Reeves last year in La Rochelle, the city where I live.
Oh, La Rochelle, beautiful. That's on the northwest coast, I believe, there.
Yeah.
On the Atlantic. L'Atlantique.
All right. Joseph says, can you guys do a video on rhythm changes? Now, you were just playing some bebop, I think.
Oh,
that might
maybe
be an appropriate segue.
I planted a little seed. Okay, and so before we jump in on these, I just want to say, yeah, if everybody, if you would just shout out where you are, that's always just fun for us. That's all we ask. Kind of where you are in the world and how you're doing, that kind of thing. That's always fun. Okay, rhythm changes. And look, we hit rhythm changes hard in a lot of our courses, sort of from maybe not jumpstart jazz piano, because that's so beginner level.
We do actually tackle a basic version of rhythm changes in Jazz Piano Jumpstart.
Like I say, we tackle a basic version of rhythm changes. Rhythm changes is so foundational, and so even if you think you know it, I think it's always something, wouldn't you agree,
Totally.
You know, to revisit, to come back to, just to sort of frame, it's not at the level, I would say, of the blues in terms of like that really frames this music completely in anything that we do. But rhythm changes is one of those iconic forms, so it's something to concentrate on. Would you consider it like the sonata allegro form?
Yeah.
The classical musician?
I would. It's the jazz version of that, for sure.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so maybe I'll just pick out kind of one thing that might be, maybe each of us can just pick out one kind of idea. We can't cover this comprehensively today, but one thing I like to think about with the rhythm changes is the bridge, okay? Interesting things we can do. We were talking the other day about secondary dominance. I never thought about it like that, but that's exactly what it is. And then there's some places where you might know that you can kind of alter things and take advantage of all those dominant chords. But I like to start right on the first chord sometimes. Because a lot of times it's like, well, let me wait till I get to that last 5 and then really alter and do something interesting. But you got to remember, when you hit that 3 chord, because we're key of B flat, say, but whatever key you're in, you're going up to the 3rd. It's very easy to kind of just sort of play through that standard way. But you can. Because once you get back to B flat, you're still going to have that I'm coming home thing. So what did I do there? I'm thinking about that triad, major and minor, of the, what do you call that? The tritone. So you got D7, but I'm thinking A flat. Not necessarily going to an A flat completely, A flat 7. You could, but I'm thinking. And then when I go to the next one, same thing, C sharp over G. So basically on that first chord, I'm setting up my melodic pattern, my melodic motif, my melodic idea for the whole bridge there. I'm taking advantage of the fact that we have a cycle going, but I'm not playing it in a generic way. Now there's 100, there's 1,000, there's probably 10,000 different ways you can do this. This is one example. But once you get, like, take advantage of the pattern that's built into the music. You're already breaking up the pattern when you get to the bridge anyway, right? Because it's like everything here is 2 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Like the changes are moving every 2 beats. So you've got a lot of really harmonic pattern. Then you get to the bridge, 2 bars, right? So it's already different. Then you can kind of play more standard even. And then, yeah, this is a little more on the advanced side, but, you know, as you feel like you know the form of the rhythm changes, challenge yourself with little things like this, because that's how you really get to know the form. A lot of times I think things that we're playing, people that feel comfortable playing over these changes, it's as much the confidence coming out of really knowing what the form is, not having to think about what chord you're on.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
By the way, the whole time you were demoing that, we were on and off of 77 watchers the entire time.
Wait, 77? That's how we do it?
That's the magic number.
Yeah.
We have, let's see, oh, we got a bell.
There we go.
All right. Art from San Jose, ever come out here?
Yeah, I was at San Jose Jazz Festival in August, in that beautiful big town square there.
M. Khan from Michigan says, what's up?
What's up, Michigan?
Luca, hi from Italy.
Luca.
Matthias, greetings from Finland.
Oh, Finlandia.
Rick, saw Peter with Diane Reeves in San Antonio in September.
Yeah.
Rich from Vegas.
Go
what
Spurs.
up?
Go
Bob
Spurs.
from San Francisco. Dawson from Washington State. Joseph from Richmond, Virginia. Zach from Miami, Florida.
Florida.
Russell from NYC.
That's my birth state, Florida. Central Florida.
Yeah. Okay, Rick asks, hi, I'm watching from hospital. Sorry to hear about that, Rick.
Oh, man.
Had a shoulder surgery, my right shoulder. Any good tips for practicing the left hand in the next few weeks? All right, so I'm going to hop on just to jump in on your rhythm changes. So, Rick, one easy thing you can do to like shore up your left hand, especially when you're doing something like rhythm changes where it kind of has like a natural two feel to the changes, is do these really simple shell voicings. It's literally just like the root and either the 3rd or the 7th or the 6th, right? And this works really great over rhythm changes. Like those 2-note voicings can just be super handy when you're playing this bebop stuff over, and it kind of has that like, you know, Monk, Bud Powell sound. So you can go through rhythm changes in all keys in a super simple way with just these 2-note root and, like, we call it root and a half shell. Did you know that?
No, I like that.
Root and half shell.
That's the way I like my oysters. Or I used to like my oysters.
Root on the half shell. And you can do tritone subs with all this, but that's what I would start with, like the very basic voicing exercises in all keys. Like, those are easy to play, but can you do it in G flat? Can you do it in E? And then the other thing is you kind of have like a little bit of a gift given to you here that you literally can't practice with your right hand. So like you might as well go on some heavy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like go
straight Jeff Keezer on.
Go straight Jeff Keezer and like practice, you know, like the head to Donna Lee or the bebop heads or giant steps or whatever you think is challenging to your left hand. as you would practicing with your right hand. Just do it with your left hand. That's an easy one.
Well, and you know, like we're always talking about restricted practice. Whoa.
Come on, dude.
Come on, man. Come on, Ryan.
Come on.
We're talking about restricted practicing all the time, and it's normally not this kind of medically restricted practice, but I think
right.
you can use that same kind of mindset.
For sure.
Like, you know, look at it as an advantage in a way, and we definitely hoping for your speedy recovery there. But yeah, really to focus in a way. Oh, I gotta plug my mic in better. Is that better?
It's still
Come on. Maybe because I dropped it. Well, go ahead. You talk.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is what I was saying. It's like it sucks that you had shoulder surgery, but it's pretty great that you have no choice but to work on your left hand, and then you can really like start burning on some stuff using just your left hand.
Right. Okay. They're telling me to
make sure it clicks.
Oh.
Click. Push it.
How's that? He's like, I don't know. Now you can hear me.
There you go.
That's why we call it open studio. We keep everything open here.
That's why we keep it around.
Okay, so somebody, I just noticed there was a question too. It said, can we talk about those licks that I was playing? I'm going to try to remember, just because I know how that is. Sometimes someone will be playing something and they're talking about something else. You're like, no, I want that.
I want exactly that.
But I think he's probably talking about like that kind of thing. And I know I was saying and it really is based on a triad, that A flat triad with the major third and the minor third. And if you want to kind of practice these, I mean, look, the phrasing and the feel and the placement is always a big part of this, but having that kind of, it's really like a harmonic foundation for creating an interesting melody. Not happening? Can they hear me? You can't hear me? Yes or no? Oh, he can hear me because he's in here. Well,
I can hear you.
Okay. Let me know on YouTube if you can't hear me, and then I'll have Adam take over. But if you go through the inversions, it doesn't sound that hip, but it can become. Okay, and it's the same thing I'm playing on each one of those. It's based on that triad with the major third and minor third.
Pookie asks, what's the half shell mean? Just could you elaborate what I was talking about? It's just part of the shell. Like it's one of, like the shell is either the third, or it's the shell is the third and the seventh.
Right.
So the half shell would just be one of those. And it doesn't really matter which one. The sound is just, it's the root and either the third or the seventh.
Right. So that's always a two-note left-handed voice.
I mean, if you're being restrictive with it, yeah.
Right. Right.
Like when you get in a real life playing situation, you'll throw in 3 notes and root and shell, whatever you want to do, but it's good to practice these things restrictively just to make sure you got it.
And you can definitely go back and forth too. So anytime you do the root and the shell, you've got a complete situation. So if we're going 2-5-1 to E flat, and you can, if you can reach it, you can split it up, but it's the same concept. The reality is sometimes you're going to go up to some rootless and then come back to root plus half shell. And really, it's probably driven more by voice leading than anything.
It totally is. That's why the 2 5s, like in a rhythm change, just sound so great. You know what I mean? Like if you do the bridge with the root and half shell, it's not, you have to do some tricks to kind of make it more effective, right? But when you have those constant 1, 6, 2, 5s, the voice leading kind of takes care of itself.
But even on the bridge, something you would hear like a Bud Powell or something do a lot is.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Is like you would add some extra changes in there.
Yep.
Bob asks, what do you recommend for a daily practice routine for someone who has about an hour a day for the novice intermediate level? Well, Bob, that's a lot of time to practice, actually. What I will say, what I do is always make sure that I'm keeping a practice journal and keeping track of things that I can't play very well. That's what you should be spending the majority of your time doing, is practicing things you're not good at yet. So for a lot of people, it's human nature to sit down at the piano and just rattle off practicing the same tunes that they've been playing for years, or the same lines, or the same voicings.
Ooh, I love doing that. It's so fun.
It is fun. It feels great. It makes us feel good. But then you get on the gig and someone calls, have you met Miss Jones instead of F, they call it an E flat, and you're like, wait, what? I can't do that.
Yeah.
The thing is you have to keep track of where you are, what you need to improve on, and then just hit that methodically. And you will get better. That's the key, is if you can stay consistent and you can work on things that you're not good at yet, you're going to get better. Now, I say the journal because if you keep a journal, you never have to ask, what should I be practicing? I mean, the truth is, it doesn't actually matter what concept or how much time you spend with this or that or the other. As long as you're practicing something that you want to get good at that you can't do yet, you're going to get better. So if you have a long list of things that you need to hit, you can just take that list and check some things off. And then I like to, at the end of my practice routine, like practice performance, playing something that's super comfortable, but practicing like I'm actually playing it on a gig. And you talk about that too, but practicing performance is a whole other thing. You know, trying to do it without starting or stopping and just really playing it like I was pretending that I'm, you know, at the Village Vanguard or something like that. And that's kind of like a nice reward for yourself at the end.
It's a little me time at the end of
It's a little me time. So, you know, for me, and I know for you too, like I have certain patterns that I can do. Like I'll start with maybe some technique stuff or maybe like some left hand stuff, and then maybe I'll work on some voicings or a tune I'm trying to learn or a concept that I'm working on. But whatever I'm doing, I'm always making sure to hit things that I can't quite do yet, or trying to improve things I can do and push them beyond where I'm comfortable. So hope that helps.
Yeah, and you know, I think I would just say that this idea of keeping the journal too is great because, you know, some days you're going to have the regimented, oh look, there's a journal right there.
So we have our own Open Studio practice journal.
Pujo.
You can keep track of, because we really do believe in this, that you can keep track of like what scales, what tunes, what concepts you're working on, the keys. It has like a checklist for keys.
If you believe in that, why is it empty?
Because this is what we're selling. So yeah, and then like there's a tune register and a whole bunch of stuff that you can use to keep track of what you're working on. You can go to openstudiojazz.com to check that out.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes when you do have some ideas, look, there's some days where you're going to have like a whole schedule regimented and it works great for you. But there's other days I found that you start on something, so you maybe have your list of ideas and you pick one, you know, and if you can do like what Adam says as far as the thing that you really need to be working on, that's even better. But then like everything's kind of clicking, not in that you're playing perfectly, but you're really feeling, you know, that feeling when you're practicing and it's just like everything's coming together and you're progressing. So don't ever be so regimented that, oh, my 10 minutes of doing this is finished. So no, go with that on that day. And that's why having that kind of repository of ideas is important, because it can give you some flexibility. We don't want to back you in a corner in your practice.
Madeline says hi from Minneapolis. What's up, Madeline? Or maybe it's Madeline. Excuse me.
Madeline. So fancy.
So we still have people that are interested in these rhythm changes. So
oh, yeah.
Zach says, regarding the bridge for rhythm changes using the tritone, can you demonstrate or talk about some ways to use pentatonics while thinking that way? Been checking out the pentatonic technique course.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Pentatonic. Okay. So, you know, a lot of times it's sort of easier for people to think about I mean, look, pentatonic is just any 5-note scale. But if we look at the minor pentatonic, or as you would call it, the pentatonic, right? We had a little dispute, a little internal dispute about that. But, so for D7, you're talking about the A minor pentatonic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one that you could use for sure.
That was kind of sort of lame sounding. A little
bit. It is.
Because then it's like, all right, so how are we going to make this hip? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I almost like that one. No?
I like that one too.
So that's what I would call one of the major pentatonic scales. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And like, I like to think of these, especially these kind of non-standard scales, think about them as numbers. Or at least try to hear them that way. For me, that works because I'm thinking about like intervals and where they lie within something that I do kind of understand. So if you think about the dominant scale, everything is like in relation to what we don't want to only play because it sounds too generic, but is really the kind of vanilla foundation of what that is. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Sorry. That would be my on the bridge. What do you think? That doesn't sound that great, though.
It doesn't sound that great. Like, yeah, you know, I don't actually play straight up pentatonics on the bridge to this kind of thing. I would do more shapes, you know, kind of switching inside from kind of that sound, and then also the A minor one, and then also the Lydian, you know, like a Lydian sound. Like that's, so shapes that kind of define those things. I'm not thinking straight up like, here's my pentatonic for this. You know?
Actually, I like when you do that. He does the robot, the pentatonic row. No, actually, there is one that I might do. But I've never thought about it as a pentatonic. And that would be, so you've got D7, so we were talking about A flat, that triad, but how about the pentatonic, the minor pentatonic that goes with that, the E flat minor?
Yes.
So basically it's the, it's like a half step up the minor pentatonic. So for D7. But generally, yeah, you want to kind of resolve that. You don't want to stick with it for too much. That's a nice little melodic pattern. And look, the more melodic, and you know, we're talking about creating melodies, right? That's very much a function of what harmony you're playing over, but what's most important about that is the phrasing. So you're talking about the rhythm and the melody. The harmony can kind of almost be anything. That's me just trying to play random harmony, but I'm still trying to be melodic, you know? And so if you make the rhythm hip, the phrasing, you can kind of get away with it. So the further away you get, then you bring it back home, it's like, bam, I'm there.
We're still on the rhythm changes. Ian asked, when playing a solo over rhythm changes and the chord changes are going by so quickly, do you think about the solo within the context of the chord or in a broader, I'm guessing you meant like in a broader sense?
Definitely broader sense. I mean, the bridge, you have a little more time, but I mean, you know, especially if you get the tempo up.
There's just not enough time to like try to, I mean, you can do it for a while to outline all the chords and it's a kind of sound, but it also kind of sounds, it sounds wonky that fast.
Yeah.
It's fine, but it's like.
And it's hard to really tell. I mean, look, take one little quick step back. This is the same as anything, even if you're playing So What, where you're luxuriously sitting on D minor for 16 bars. We're still trying to tell a story. So don't let the number of changes and how quickly they're going by cramp your style. You know, things are going by, but we still have to tell a story. So it might be a matter of like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I was trying to tell a story there that never actually left B flat, even as the changes are going by, right? And then, yeah, when you... But you want that phrase to still stand on its own, even separate from the changes. So you can practice this, first of all, slow it all down, because that's when this starts to kind of make sense. But you want to play phrases that fit melodically mostly. Yeah, they need to fit over the chords, but they don't have to fit over every chord, right? Well, I don't know, can we look up, can you call the jazz police real quick?
No, they don't have to fit it.
Okay.
And in fact, like I was saying, like if you are maniacally outlining every single change in this exact way, it gets a little boring.
Right.
You know? Some of my favorite approaches to rhythm changes are when you stretch it out a little bit. Like if I remember there was some like Brad Mehldau record where he did, like to get more of a modal sound, which someone asked about as well, like to think about it instead of like 1, 6, 2, 5, you can think about it as 1 and then 5. And then you can do whatever, because it's a 5, you can make that very malleable. You know what I mean? Like you can do like that kind of sound over the 5 or whatever you want to do, but it's because it's just 1, 5, and then, you know, the same thing. And then you get to the bridge. through, then it becomes just kind of like this one.
Oh, jazz police are calling. They
Okay, I gotta go.
No. That's awesome. And then too, you notice what Adam was doing there too. Like there's always the biggest thing that's going to change this is if you're matching with your. What's up? Right. Okay, hey, that's something that's never been said to me before. Oh, you meant just him. Okay, got it. So, no, but like whether or not you're matching the left hand harmonically with what you're doing with the right hand, that makes a big difference with that, right?
I mean, it really can, because you can, like that last sort of A section I played, I was just hanging on B flat, but I'm changing the chord in the left hand, altering the 5 and going back to the 1, and even like sussing the 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to do very much with your right hand. You can literally let the harmony kind of, and you'll get a lot of stank faces. You get a lot of woo.
A lot of stank face. Police, but stank face. Yeah, and then, if you go if you kind of go, I think what's the other way is like stationary with your right hand. Really go crazy kind of harmonically with your left hand at times. All different devices that you would bring in, just to make the rhythm changes a little bit less. But I mean, you got to learn it first, just, really without improvising, because you need to be able to go through and really know the changes, the foundation, because that's when you can start forgetting about the changes. Because the form is there so strong with you. So when you go to this kind of thing, like I'm still hearing that. Sound like I'm playing at the circus there for a minute. But you're hearing that underlying. No matter where you go, that's the foundation.
Okay, let's see.
Someone asked about drop 2.
Yeah, we'll get there, but one more for you, because this is a good one for you to tackle.
Oh yeah, because he knows I don't know what drop. I just forget what drop 2 is.
You know it, you just don't like it. Tom asked, what is the best? Yeah, that's it. What is the best thing for improving rhythm and groove, especially for solo playing? I think this is an excellent question.
Okay. I think. The best. That's always hard when you say the best. We can tell you some good things. I can tell you some things not to do for improving solo playing. Okay, so this one you kind of have to do. Okay, I'll give you this. Left hand restricted in terms of you want to do something. We're going to do 2-feel right now. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit of an independence thing, but it's going to have to make you really focus on having your time right. So this can be done and should be done with and without the metronome. Not only with the metronome, because then you come to kind of over-rely on it, but not only without it, because then you're not going to know unless you have somebody listening if your time is messed up or not. You need as much to teach you about the time as it is to regulate whether or not you're playing in time, so that because you're never going to be able to play a gig. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's some very big bands that play with tracks in their ears, but you don't want to do that, right? So if we do over rhythm changes, we're going to look at half. So this is 2 and 4, and that's kind of where you want your metronome to go for the time that you're practicing with it. But you're working on your time, so we're going to have the left hand do only half notes, no anticipations. I love being dogmatic about this. And then you're going to introduce very simple. And the only rule for these improvised melodies is that you don't disrupt your left hand at all from that half note, and you stay in tempo. And you don't have to do it while you're talking. This is just an extra challenge. Everything that you play with the right has to be exactly in time. So you're not going to play, oops, I got excited talking. You're not going to play anything with your right hand that's not right within the time. Woo! So it's going to be less adventurous. But if you do a triplet, it's got to be right in the time.
But this is the important part, is I think this is where people get frustrated. I can't do what I can do when I'm just comping for myself. Right? You got to be disciplined about how you work on this, because eventually you will be able to, but you have to go through this step of not being as comfortable before you are comfortable. That's just like, that's impossible not to get through that.
And I think you could start maybe whole notes. know, if you want. That's not necessarily that much easier, though. And you're not worried about, like, if you don't play a great bass line, it doesn't matter. You're just trying to stay in half notes because you're working on your time. But then you also start to realize how much playing a good time has to do with phrasing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's not just tempo. It's really, you know, time is about the groove and the tempo kind of coming together.
Larry Leno says, "What's up from New Jersey?" Larry is
New Jersey. I'm coming to New Jersey tomorrow.
He's a saxophonist, and he did a lot of the heavy lifting for our Steve Wilson course.
Wow.
For the transcribing. He did a great job, Larry. Your transcriptions were super awesome, super accurate. If any saxophone players out there, go check out Steve Wilson's Fundamentals of Jazz Saxophone. Let's talk drop 2. You ready to be schooled a little bit?
Well, I'm always up to learn this, even though I have to continually learn it over and over again.
Everybody loves the stank face. Someone suggested there should be a stank face emoji, which I kind of agree with.
Yeah.
It'd be really like a nice, like, woo.
Who do we call about that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg?
Zuckerberg.
Bezos? I don't know.
Bezos.
Okay, so the drop 2. So it's a very simple concept, but it's one of these things where you have to work on it again in like every situation. The very basic concept of it is, like, let's say we take a simple 2-5-1 chord progression, again in B flat, like we're in rhythm changes, C minor 7, and we just have this like C, E flat, G, B flat, right? And then we'll do this diminished, right, as like our 5. That's our voicing. And then our B flat, so sorry, the diminished is C, E flat, G flat, A, like an F7 flat 9, right? And then the B flat major 7, B flat, D, G, A. So these are just our regular, like, you know, block chord voicings. Drop 2 is we take the second note from the top and we drop it down an octave. It's more pleasant. It's more balanced. It just is. But the thing is,
rugged and native.
It's not, yeah, or jive, or whack. What is it? Whack. But like, so on C minor though, you know, all of these inversions that we could use, these sort of block inversions, we could do the same thing. And where Peter uses it, why he doesn't really understand drop 2, even though he plays it, is because I think you think of it more as playing tense and then you're filling in the gaps, which is how a lot of players, if you listen to how this is used from a lot of pianists, you can tell that they're not thinking of this as like strict drop 2. It's more like I'm playing tense and I'm filling in, you know, the chord tones in between. Now, learning it drop 2 by learning these block chords and learning how to drop it down is a good way to get started. But it's taking
write
notes.
This down.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like there, like I'm moving those tenths around, and I'm keeping the middle. Like I'm not being a strict, like, you know, that sounds a little too like wonky for me.
Right.
Right. And that's not how the players that I love use it. So I like it more as that, thinking of it as tense. Like with everything though, the more you do kind of restrictive practice and get it under your fingers on like specific voicings and all keys, like the freer you're going to be able to be with it in the end. I'll show you one of the ones I was just playing, which is one of my favorite ways to use it in a real life situation. Like I think for me, comping wise, drop 2 can be a little limiting as far as the textures I get. Like I don't know about you, but I don't use it as like my sole comping tool very often, where I'm just comping with only drop 2.
Yeah.
Like I'll use it as part of a, and go somewhere else, you know? But I won't stick with it for like the entire solo I'm comping under. It'll just be one of many kinds of voicings I use. So one that I was just playing that I really love is based off of the diminished scale. And it's this really, it's so what's cool about this one, which is F, A, D flat, A flat, and then you just move those outer notes, F and A flat, down a whole step, and then you can move that whole pattern down minor thirds. Sorry, there it is. So it's really this movement, and then I move it down a minor third, and then I move it down a minor third. And at any point, if this is a 2-5 or a 5 chord in B flat, right, an F7, I can keep going and end it on that B flat, F, A, D at any point. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
It's like you can kind of jump in and out of it. So
nice.
yeah, that's the basic drop 2.
Yeah, there's some stuff on the blog, some free stuff, right?
There's a ton of stuff. You go to you'llhearit.com. On the blog, there's some things on drop 2. There's a couple of videos too I made last year.
Cool. Can I throw in a question here?
Yeah.
This is from Sarah and Lee Stein. I'm having trouble getting the diminished scales under my fingers. I realize there are only 3, but I'm struggling with navigating in real time while improvising.
That's good. So I think the key to getting any scale out in real time when you're improvising is, first of all, patience, right? Like, we don't want to force it.
Yeah.
We want to be also incredibly familiar with it so that you can kind of do it in your sleep. So I would say, first and foremost, be patient, keep practicing it, incorporate it into your daily practice routine, and then try to like incorporate it in a real life situation in your practice routine. So like, you know, what I was just doing, if we just did that single note, I might practice like, can I go, like using my brain how I would improvising. Can I start this diminished scale, right, which would be like the F half whole if I'm on F7 flat 9 or whatever.
Hold on, let me just jump in real quick because you did something there. You went boo boo dee bee dee bee. I think that's also a key, is like folks should not think about, yes, we're practicing the scales kind of classical style up and down, but that's a lot of times the actual, that can activate.
Exactly right. Finding the shapes and, and the way.
And approaches.
Yeah, exactly. Like starting and stopping and coming, kind of weaving in and out of it. Yeah. This really actually helps lock the sound into our playing so that when we're improvising, you can kind of hear what's going to happen next. It's like with any other scale. It's like when you learn the major scale, it was the same thing, right? Like you knew when you weren't playing the major scale when you were improvising because you were hearing it so well when you were practicing. So don't just practice it, whatever. Practice getting these different, you know, skipping notes, going up and down. All of that going in thirds is going to make a huge difference in your retention of it and then your ability to kind of play it on call when you want to on the bandstand.
Yeah, and then one thing possibly that would also help for your, to connect it even to that point, especially if you're feeling, you know, like you've got them down just playing the scales, but as you said in your question, kind of connecting that when you're improvising, the practicing in thirds, if you're not doing that. Ooh, that might be our next jazz piano technique.
Here we
diminished
go.
With some different ways to practice.
Do it.
Broken thirds. And the reason is not just because it's a different way to practice it, although that's important for our ears and for our hands. Like once we get something, if we're having trouble applying, it's like, let's go back and like, how else can we approach it and look at it? Like, how do we look at it and play it from the side? But also if you think about, so Adam was going, a lot of times approaching it like that, but there's also a lot of, there's just a lot of broken thirds. You know, as far as usage, also, broken fifths over the diminished. And to your point about only 3 scales, that's the beauty of this. Like when you learn different ways to practice the diminished scales, you don't have to go through all 12 keys. You're just going through 3 and then they start to repeat. So this is definitely when you can double, triple, quadruple up on the ways that you practice it. So you got the regular, and I'll just throw a few off the top of my head. Broken thirds, broken, would you call this broken? Broken triads kind of?
Yeah, exactly.
I think we have some fingering on these coming in our future in 2020, just to warn
we
you.
definitely do.
Even full diminished. And then also you can combine these, right? And and even if you're not going to go straight Jeff Keezer and like two-handed improv, just practicing like this disconnects you from playing it in the way and thinking about it and feeling it in the way that you're used to. It just forces your brain into a different place so that you can start to automate some of those shapes as you're hearing them in your improv.
I got a couple of good questions for you. Luca from Italy asks, again on rhythm changes, assuming we're in B flat, what are you most likely to play over the chord that comes after E flat? E diminished or E flat minor? How do you think over those two choices? This is a great, like this is a bit of controversial talking point in some circles.
Right. Well, not as controversial as our episode we recorded yesterday.
I don't want to talk about
that. That's coming next week. But yeah, it is a little bit controversial, and I think, it's whatever sounds better for the situation. There's no right or wrong answer. I think I use them both. I couldn't tell you which one I use more. Do you know which one you use more? I mean, it kind of depends on the tune also.
It depends on the tune, because some tunes have it in the melody, one or the other.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that would drive it. Now, does that mean you have to stick with it when you're improvising? No, not necessarily, but we do kind of like to hear, I'm thinking, well, that one's kind of unique because it has its own. But that's an example of like the melody. Actually, that melody, Rhythmic, should really drive the way that you play these changes because there's such a strong connection between the melody and what the harmonic thing is.
I think that's got to be the diminished one for me. Just thinking about the bass line under the da 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 ba da ba da ba.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because it's really a bass line question. Are we going to F? To B flat over F, or are we going to just straight up B flat in the root? You know what I mean? Because if we're going to straight up B flat in the root, or D in the root, B flat over D, the E flat minor is appropriate. If we're going to F, the E diminished is appropriate.
Exactly.
I mean, I think it's such a I can change chorus to chorus depending on what the bass player's doing, what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that sound you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got a tune like. You're not even worried about going to E flat minor because you're going G flat major. What do you know about this? Just wanted you to know I was listening to your drop 2 lesson.
I appreciate it. Okay.
Let's do a little quiz for the folks before they ask the next question.
Okay.
What kind of voicings are these? Put in the comments below, on the side, wherever they are. Hello.
Okay, sorry. So before we get on to the next question, could you play a stank face reharm of Jingle Bells real quick?
Oh my God, that's so oddly specific. Jingle. That's
I just want to put you on the spot.
I don't think that can get stank face. Wait, how does the first part? Wait.
Just do the Jingle Bells part.
Very stank face, but you could go.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh, I can't believe it. I mean, anytime you go like, there's a potential for stank face. Polychord, right? I don't know if it needs it there, but.
JC the Jazz Master asks, hi Peter and Adam, thanks so much. My 2 questions, even though he has just one here. There, I can see it, it's down below. Any suggestion on how to get those fingers to play more fluidly and fast? I'm talking about scales that are for jazz, diminished, major, whatever. So, JC the Jazz Master, we do have a jazz piano technique course that focuses on, Volume 1 focuses on pentatonics. We're probably going to do the diminished scales, Volume 2. Where you can practice along with us and kind of see how we practice, and really we kind of are boot camp generals and make you do things you might not want to do. But I would say that really consistency is the key to technique. You have to actually do it with intent. I mean, Peter knows better than me because he's this technique master here. But I don't know what you would say to get the fingers flowing faster and more fluidly, but for me, I need to be at the piano.
Yeah.
Like on the regular, or else it doesn't happen.
Of course, of course. Specific for fluidity, what is fluidity? That's like being able to, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a connotation of speed, right, with that fluidity, but I'm thinking like evenness, right? I mean, the chromatic scale, like, I always come back to like what scale is most important to practice, and I mean, so many different situations. We've talked about a couple today, but I always think that the chromatic scale, although traditionally with the fingering, it doesn't even involve all your fingers, everything but the fifth finger. That is sort of your main barometer to can you control an instrument. And you know, with every instrument being different, whenever I sit on a new piano, even like, remember our call to practice? Yeah. It was like a slow chromatic scale. It's like, you're really checking out this register of the piano, and we're trying to see how fluid we could potentially be on that instrument, what limitations it might have, how much we're gonna have to work to really control it. But all things being equal with the instrument, I think the biggest thing would be economy of motion. So when you practice, it's kind of the only time you can think about this. It's very hard to consider this as you're playing in the moment. But if you think about, like, you know, how much are you going to move your wrist up and down? How much are you going to move your hands in and out? How much are you going to go up and down that's not with the direction you're going? So the chromatic scale requires you to play every note as you move up and down the piano. So you have to concentrate. The ideal is that wrist is just going exactly the speed you need to go. You're not going up or down. You've got this nice, you know, solid, strong, but not tight. And then the fingers are not like up and down and in and out and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of complexity to it, but the general concept is that economy of motion. Like, you should not be seeing a lot of unnecessary things. Now, the reality when you're playing, a lot of unnecessary things come along, but that's kind of the foundation. And when you have to really kind of grit it out on a difficult passage that's written or something you want to improvise, that's when you really kind of double down on that really strong technique that does not have a lot of crazy movements in a lot of directions.
A. Grant asks a very good question. Do you guys only play what you hear? I can't get past 1, a bit of what I hear, 2, what theoretically works, 3, and a bit of taking chances. So I would say for me, the more I can get away from 2, the better I am. Like, the less I'm thinking like, okay, this theoretically works. This is the right scale for this chord.
Yeah.
I don't want to be thinking like that. If I'm thinking like that, I'm playing like crap. So
I'm thinking no bueno when you go there.
For sure. So I'm always trying to play what I hear, and I'm trying to listen as much as possible to let it happen.
Yeah, and I used to think, oh, okay, so I agree with that, but I used to think that meant you couldn't think theoretically when you practiced because that was going to get in the way when you played. But I think I'm not worried about that anymore. I think you really can have a different mindset when you perform. You mentioned earlier about practicing performing. That's important to do so that you're not paralyzed when you get to a performance situation. But everything is kind of what we do is so that you can perform well, whether that's for yourself, for 2 people, or for 2,000 people. So you can't be thinking about, if you're thinking about theoretical things as you're improvising in a performance situation, I think that's always going to stunt the ability to quote unquote play what you hear.
That's exactly right.
So anything that you do, that doesn't mean you can't understand theory. It's just that you can't connect that to the art of improvisation. So you can connect it with the art of preparing to improvise. But the actual improvising, you have to practice that totally devoid of any, as much as possible, any theoretical thought. So the actual way that manifests itself is to be able to know a form so well that you have a chance of not thinking about the theory behind it. Like, if you're still having to kind of think about where you are in the form, or when you get to a certain chord, what's that chord? Wait, theoretically, what scale should I use? You've already lost the battle before you even got there.
True,
You're going to fall back on using your theory to drive your melodic phrases as opposed to, your story, and you'll hear it. So the reality is, this is like a moving target as you progress. This is why we practice. This is why we listen. This is why we try to progress. And so it's not going to happen overnight, but you want to be, going in that direction, I think.
So good. So most people guessed for your what voicing is this? So what, or 4th voicings?
Okay, not really, because I was moving up that wrong. No, I shouldn't say that. No, I would say that there was probably a couple right things, but it was like I'm moving up diatonically. So the voicing's actually changing as opposed to moving up.
Trick question.
Yeah, so if it had been this, I probably did play, some of them were so what voicings, but that would have been moving up chromatically. So I'm moving diatonically. I think I was on a B flat or E flat, whatever key we were in there. That was diatonically within the E flat major scale. And so this is just as a reminder that a lot of times, yeah, we talk about learning voicings. You were saying one of your New Year's resolutions is to work out voicings in all different keys. Very important. And normally we're thinking about going chromatically or circle of fourths, circle of fifths when we do that. But also don't sleep on some hip diatonic movement. Now for the so what voicing, that would mean you're moving like this as opposed to chromatic. But just recognize, you better recognize, as you move through that D Dorian, the voicing's actually changing, right? Because now we're all fourths with a third on top. Same thing there. You might say, Peter, you're wrong, but what? Can I get a woot, woot? So we got perfect fourth to the devil's interval. I can't remember what it's called.
The tritone?
Yeah, so both are important, both can be used, but don't sleep on some nice fourth voicings moving through diatonic areas. It can also be, you can move through some nice diminished areas too, as opposed to chromatic.
It's good stuff.
Nobody got that right? Come on, diatonic.
No one got it right.
Maybe I did play chromatic.
I mean, it was pretty esoteric.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Kobayashi 24 asks, beginner question, when right hand plays swing eighths, should the left hand offbeat voicings also hit rhythmically on the swing timing, or should they be played straight between the beats? Easy answer.
What?
If it's swinging, it's got to swing.
If it's swinging, it's got to swing.
It don't mean a thing.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't. But I think we're talking about like not baseline. We're talking about like comping, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like comping for yourself. If your right hand is swinging, should your left hand be swinging?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I think on a beginner level, the basic area, like where you want to fit that swing in at first is in between your improvised phrases. So you might be like F blues. So nothing's played at the same time. That gives you the chance to feel the tempo, adjust to the groove, make sure you're placing your comping in your left hand, within the groove without having to worry about independence of the hands. So like we were. Like once you get to the point where you can kind of play with two hands and swing, it's very easy to be like, oh, that's so basic and so easy. But that's one of the biggest barriers to get over. So a lot of you got to get them apart first, though, because you don't want to try to put the hands together, i.e. they're both playing at the same time, different things, until you're really solid with knowing that you can groove or in this case, swing, which is the same as playing in the groove, with that hand independently, because then you can hear it and control it. Doing them both at the same time is just a matter of practice and experience and time, and then slowly trying to put them together. And it's just the whole thing of how do you learn how to do this. That's a big fun part of piano playing. But first you want to just keep them separate. But make sure you know that the left, Ryan's tapping his feet. I think he likes it. Or he's bored. Like what'll happen if you practice like this, eventually you'll just start. Like your ears will hear this so much that they're going to start demanding that your hands play within the swing. Now, are you going to do it every time? No, especially not at first. But as long as you hear it, as long as you feel when you touch that hot stove that it's hot, you're good. You'll start to make the adjustments.
I love this from Tom. Most piano players in their solo with a descending blues scale lick. How do we get away from this? Thanks.
Hey, why do we got to get away from it if it sounds good? No, but you know what? That's a good point, though, we can play that. And if it sounds good, that's always the barometer. But yes, let's be conscious of sometimes we play things because they're a habit. And that's fine, but like, let's always know, let's be woke. Can 2020 be the year of woke jazz piano playing? So we want to know what we're doing and why we're doing it, not just do it because history tells us to do it. And kind of be aware, because we do want to have variety. Just like when you're telling a story, once you've told the story, change it up a little bit. Don't change it just to change it, but if it's appropriate, be ready to change it. At least know if you need to change it.
Andres says, so if you can do diminished, you can do technically any symmetrical scale figure with block chords. I think he's talking about the drop 2 thing I was doing before. But it's not just block chords. It's anything can be symmetrical. Like if you do just thirds, you know, if I'm going down here.
God, it's heavy. Heavy AF.
You know, you go down a whole step with anything, then you go down a half step. And, you know what I mean? It just keeps going on, and that's with anything. So what I was doing, okay, it's gotten really flirty in the comments. Be careful. But that's the beauty of the diminished scale. Like it's actually harder than you might think it would be once you get going in it to kind of, you start to recognize the shapes and you start to recognize the sound. But yeah, that is totally true. So any voicing, like it's fun to do different shapes over the diminished scale and work them up and down and see how they change. I encourage you to do that.
Okay, so we had a couple of, we're gonna get away from music for a second, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some anti-Facebook comments, which is fine, but actually, so Joe, who's one of our top members down in Texas, right?
I think
Joe
so.
Scared, yeah. I would love to see OS have a non-Facebook place. Uh-oh, I lost, where did he go? Oh man, your trackpad is opposite of mine.
Yep.
Yep.
Mine's
That's
right.
why it's yours.
Mine's correct.
Tell in the comments below, which way do you go with your track? I seem to be the opposite of everybody in this office. One of these guys is doing his own thing. Okay, I would love to see OS have a non-Facebook place for us to get together. Do others here agree? How many of you are not on Facebook and thus not in the OS Facebook group? Okay, so we're very agnostic to channel. We want to go where people are. We've had this request before and we've talked about this. We're not pro Facebook. We're not, what's up? Okay. Okay. We're very open to that. Most members, as in like whenever we've polled and talked to people, like over 90% of our members are on Facebook. We're trying to do more, like today's live is on YouTube. So this is, but then are we gonna have people that are anti-Google? We don't know. So we've, with varying success, have developed our own in-house social network, but it was a little bit exclusionary and it was a little bit high maintenance. So we may be going back to that, and I like how this is like accompaniment. It's like the blues, the end of the social network. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, and we'll definitely consider that, and especially as more people, I'll second that non-Facebook suggestion, say things like that. I'd love to participate, but signing my privacy over to Facebook isn't something I'm willing to do. Woke jazz equals not, woke jazz equals not Facebook. All right, Samuel might be onto something. Point taken, thank you, sir. Let's do one more, and then, we have a commercial coming up. This is sponsored live. Did you know that?
I'm trying to provide some soundtrack for this.
Okay. Piano Access Pass. This is a little bit new. Some of you might not know about this because we just developed it. This is all the piano courses at Open Studio. We have a discount today. I'm reading beyond here. Piano Access Pass, 25% off, regularly $40 a month. Now $30 just for today. Use promo code Friday. So yeah, we hadn't offered this monthly before, but now we're doing it for a short window monthly because we really wanted people to do annual because there's so much content. We feel like, but if you want to come on monthly, you can come on today and at $30. That's a really good deal. It's not going to be that low again. So you might want to jump on that. Again, give me a little promo code music. Oh yeah, he's getting into it. He's getting into it. So promo code Friday, Friday. That's good for today. 25% off the monthly Piano Access Pass. Go to openstudiojazz.com and you'll see the Piano Access Pass. Can I grab one more? And then we're going to happy hour, my friend, or lunch or something.
Let's do it.
I'm sorry that we missed some questions. We'll definitely keep doing these. Texas. Houston. Yeah, I knew he was from Texas. H-Town. Man, are there like more great, I was going to say young, more like middle-aged jazz musicians from Houston than anywhere in the world right now?
It had a thing sometime in the 90s.
I know. And I think there's still,
no, it's a good scene.
Yeah.
It's a good scene for sure.
And a lot of them went to the same high school.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
Washington State is beautiful. Okay, I think these are people talking to each other. They're just literally using this as a backdrop. You're playing, which is cool.
Yeah.
Washington State's beautiful. It is beautiful. Lots of hiking. I was actually hiking in Washington State a few months ago. Okay, can we do one more here? I want to get a good one. I'm sorry we're going to miss a bunch. We really appreciate you guys being here. Married lady here. Whoa, hello. Hello.
I'm telling you what, it got a little flirty for a second.
Hey now. I'm trying to see a can you go out on a date this weekend question. Oh, here's a good one. This is JC the Jazz Master. Can singing with your right hand improv be a way of internalizing those scales like diminished, etc.?
Yes. We're pro singing what you're playing always, right?
Yeah, I mean, not really, just for this, but I think
for anything. I mean, singing what you want to play is a great way to connect what you hear with what you can do. And so even if you're just practicing scales, like you said, you can sing as you play. You can sing like right before you play, even if you don't have a great voice. You can try to sing so that you're hearing the harmony, you're hearing the scale, you're hearing the melody before you do it or as you do it. It's a great way to get together. I mean, I do it on the regular.
Yeah, and the question earlier about, being able to hear things, whether it be oh, you're talking to me. Hello, I'll talk to you later, honey. Okay, that's my new girlfriend, Siri. Don't tell Kelly about her. Okay, so when you're working on anything and you're having trouble getting it from sort of laboratory stage into performance stage, so like diminished scale, whatever, singing it can be that bridge to being able to start to hear things. But you have to be careful. Like, you don't want to only sing what you're already playing a lot, because then, like, at a certain point, being able to play what you hear is about the opposite. It's like being able to play what you sing, as opposed to sing what you play. That's so it starts with singing along, but then you've got to let the actual right hand or whatever go and play something and just sing and then try to match that with your playing. That's and then let them link up.
Yeah.
But that's like, and the question before about what do I practice in an hour, this is something that every level, from the most novice to the most advanced, is applicable for.
And you can even be restrictive in what you sing. Sometimes I'll just practice singing rhythms and like freeing my right hand up to play any kind of melodic content that I'm hearing, but not trying to sing that, just singing whatever rhythms I want, and that really helps kind of refine a rhythmic approach.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm sorry we missed a bunch of questions. We have to cut this here. I just want to say, and Samuel just said, while we have you, I'd like to say how much I appreciate what you guys bring to this. I've learned so much in the last month since I joined. I just want to say thank you for that. Thank all of you, members, non-members, just really everybody here that took a little bit of time out of your day to join us. Man, it means more than you know. I mean, me and Adam are going to go talk about this now, and we really appreciate it, and we want to give a little bit of value. But what you guys have given to us, and the community that you guys are providing, that we're just a part of, we're super excited about. We're excited for the new year. We hope everybody has a wonderful December, wonderful Friday.
Yeah.
And
go to openstudiojazz.com again all weekend for the watchers of this. We are offering 25% off our piano access pass. That's every piano course we've ever made, and any we will make as long as you're a member. There's monthly subscriptions and annual.
I thought it was today only.
No,
I just extended it.
Oh man, we're so generous here. Yeah, extended.
But the code is Friday.
Yeah, which would have the feeling like it would be only today, but in fact,
no, we're going all weekend with this.
We're going all weekend.
And so for the monthly, the regular would be $40 a month, would be $30 a month, and 25% off the annual, which is a really good deal, actually.
And that's, again, the piano access pass.
Yeah, you get like the Jazz Piano Method, Jazz Piano Jumpstart. We got a ton of all access and piano access people on here right now, actually. So. Yeah.
So I just, real quick, I'm going to miss a bunch of people. Roland, Rich, Andres, Pookie, Neil, Noritube, Nori Ochia, David, Nell, Neil, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Tim, Ludo, Eric. Thank you guys. Peace and love. Happy practicing. You'll hear it. And are we still on? We don't really know it.
We're out.